Hey guys, so today we're going to be learning about the Pythagoras Theorem. Now, for your Australian Year 10 math curriculum, you're going to need to know the Pythagoras Theorem, how to solve some routine questions using the Pythagoras Theorem, and then how to solve questions that are a little more complex. And we're going to be going over all of that today, okay? So, in this video, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go over what we already know about triangles. Then, we're going to go over how this formula down here relates to our triangle and what all of these variables mean on the triangle. And then we're going to go over some routine questions. And lastly, we'll touch on some complex questions, okay? So first, what we know about triangles. Now, Pythagoras theorem only works on right-angled triangles. And this square down here tells us that this is a right-angled triangle. A right-angled triangle has two shorter sides and one longer side, and that longer side is called the hypotenuse. And now the formula we have down here, A and B are these shorter sides. They're interchangeable. It doesn't matter which way around you put them. And C is going to be your longer side. Okay? So our formula here, C squared, so this length squared here is equal to this length and this length squared added together. Okay? So let's go ahead and mark our sides here. Now we're going to call this one A. We're going to call this one B, and we're going to call our hypotenuse C. Let's try a routine question, okay? So let's say that A, our side here, is going to be equal to 4, and our side B is going to be equal to 3, okay? Now, with this information, we are actually able to solve for the length of side C. When you have a triangle like this, and you have two sides, the length of two sides, you can always work out the third side, okay? And with a right-angled triangle, you can use the Pythagoras theorem to do that. So let's get started on this one. We're going to copy our formula up here and substituting in A for 4 and B for 3. So C squared is equal to 4 squared plus 3 squared. Okay, now we're going to simplify this a little. 4 squared is 16 plus 3 squared, which is 9. Now remembering, squared just means times by itself. So we've got 4 squared is equal to 4 times 4, and 3 squared is equal to 3 times 3. Okay, and now we can simplify this a little bit further. C squared is equal to 25. Now, we don't actually have our length C here. What we have is C squared. So we have to get rid of that square on this side. And the way we do that is by square rooting both sides. That will get rid of the square. So when we square root the C squared, it's equal to the square root of 25. And square root the C squared, that just becomes C. And now we have C is equal to square root of 25. Let's solve that. And that is 5 times 5 is 25. So our square root of 25 is 5. And now we have solved for our length C here, which is equal to 5. Now in your questions, these will often have units of measurement, okay? So this might be 4 meters, 4 centimeters, 4 millimeters, 4 kilometers. Now, when you write your answer down here, you're going to always, because if you don't always do it, you're going to get a worse mark. You're going to always write your answer, or your unit of measurement, sorry, with your answer, okay? Now, let's do one more of these routine questions, and then we'll move on to a couple more complicated questions. Those are your higher level thinking questions. Those are where you're going to get your A's, okay? So by the end of this video, if you're able to do everything that I'm doing here, and I'm going to teach you it, you should be able to get an A for this part of the curriculum, okay? Okay, so in this question here, we actually have some units of measurement with our sides, okay? So our side A is going to be equal to 8 kilometers, and our side B is going to be equal to 6 kilometers. So remembering, when we get to the end of our question, we have to add that kilometers to the end of our answer, okay? Otherwise, we're not going to be able to get that A. So let's try it here. So we're going to plug our numbers into our formula. A is equal to 8, and b is equal to 6. So let's try that. So c squared is equal to 8 squared plus 6 squared. So let's go ahead and simplify this. C squared is equal to 64. So that's 8 times 8 plus 6 times 6 is 36. Now, these are two really nice numbers. Adding the 6 to the 4, we're going to get a 10. 6 to 3 is 9 plus 10, 100. So c squared is equal to 100. Okay, now we're going to get rid of this c, the squared number on the c, and to do that we square root both sides and we get c is equal to, so c is equal to the square root of 100, and now you should know the square root of 100, 10 times 10 equals 100, so the square root of 100 is 10, so c equals 10. So now we know that our c is equal to 10, but I almost forgot something. I almost forgot that we have to write our unit of measurement, which here is kilometers. Now that would have taken me down from an A for this question to a B for this question, guys. Simple mistakes like that you have to fix, okay? So 10 kilometers, c equals 10 kilometers. There we go. Now we're going to move on to some more complex questions, some high level thinking questions. And in these questions, we're going to have to find either A or B. We're not looking for the hypotenuse anymore, okay? And now when we're looking for A or B, well, there's two variables on this side. So how are we going to find the answer? Well, we have to rearrange the equation using our algebra, okay? So we're going to take a crack at that now. So in this question, the variable we're missing is B. So we have the hypotenuse C is equal to 13 centimeters, and A, the other side that we're not missing, is equal to 7 centimeters, because when we have two of any of these sides on a right-hand triangle, we can work out the missing side. Okay, so let's start by rewriting our equation up here, because we're going to have to rearrange it. So C squared is equal to A squared plus B squared. Now, we want to isolate this B squared so that we can just have C and A is equal to B, and then we just know what B is equal to, okay? And so to do this, we're going to have to get rid of the A squared. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to minus A squared. It's that simple. And when we do something to one side, we have to do it to both sides. So C squared take A squared is equal to B squared. And just like that, we have a similar looking equation where we have our missing variable on one side, and we can go ahead and now plug in our missing our values that we have so that we can solve this equation. So C is equal to 13. So 13 squared take 7 squared is equal to B squared. Now 13 squared is 169. 169 take 7 squared, which is 49, equals B squared. 169 take 49, that's 120. Okay, now remember how we get rid of the square here, because we don't just have B yet, we're looking for B. We have B squared, so we have to get rid of that squared to find B. How do we get rid of a square? We square root it, okay? And what we do to one side, we have to do to both sides. So 120 square root is equal to B, right? 120 square root, I don't know off the top of my head, so I'm going to put that in a calculator. Now the answer to that is 10.95, so I'm going to go ahead and put that here. 10.95, and I almost just got a B, but I have to put in my units of measurement, guys. So 10.95 centimeters is equal to B. And there we go. Now we're going to take a crack at one more complex question, and then we'll end the video after that. So let's do it. All right, so in this question, our units of measurement are different. So when we plug our values into our C and B, we're going to have to remember to convert this 9,000 meters into 9 kilometers, okay? So let's take a crack at this question. Even though it's B that we have this time and A is missing, it's going to be done the exact same way, and you'll see that, okay? So let's start by rewriting out our Pythagoras Theorem. C squared is equal to A squared plus B squared, right? And now we want to isolate the A, so we're going to get rid of the B from this side. And how are we going to do that? We're going to minus B squared. And we're going to have to do it to both sides. so that the equation stays equal. So c squared take b squared is equal to a squared. And there we go, just like that, we've isolated the a. Now we can do what we did in those previous questions. We can just plug it in, square root, and solve. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So c squared is equal to 55 kilometers. And b is equal to 9,000 meters. 9,000 meters to kilometers is going to be 9 kilometers. So 9 squared is equal to a squared. Now, 55 squared, I think that's 3,025. Check for me, please. Take 81 equals a squared, right? Now let's do this. It's 2,944. Now we're going to square root both of these to get rid of the square on the a, because remember, we don't have a yet, we have a squared. We can't make that mistake. 2,944 square root equals a. Now put this in the calculator and we get 54.26. And what did I nearly forget? I nearly forgot our unit of measurement, kilometers. So 54.26 kilometers equals a. Right. So let's do a quick recap on what we learned in this video. Okay. Pythagoras, right? It has to be a right angled triangle. This is our formula. C is always going to be the hypotenuse. A and B are going to be the shorter sides. When it's the hypotenuse that we're looking for, we can leave it like this. And don't forget to square root that side once you're towards the end. But when it's these other two that you're missing, the shorter sides, you're going to have to rearrange the equation, okay? And you do that like we did in this question by taking away the one that we have, and so that we're left with an isolated variable of the one that we're missing, and that way we're solving for that, okay? Now that's been Pythagoras Theorem. If you've been able to follow along with this video and you're able to do these kinds of questions on your own, you should be on track for this part of the curriculum to get an A, okay guys? So if you've learned anything from this video, please leave me a like. And also, if you want to learn something else, let me know in the comments. I'm happy to teach anything. Thanks for watching, guys.